So, hi everybody and welcome back to Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 138, and in this video we continue with our presentations, how we can access actors and so on. And in our last video I talked here how to access actors from Viewport, and there I made different examples how you can set up a variable with instance editable so that you can set it up here, and after you set it up one time properly you don't have to open up your code and you can just work here in your editor, which means you have just go to the details panel, select it what you want and just work here in the editor. But at the end I mentioned something like that many starters hate, and one of this is if you use a cast you have to find this object, and this is something what many hates. Really, they literally hate it. And yeah, actually many different ways, and like here in this case, in access from Viewport, you don't need an object because you are more or less accessing it here and assigning it. But when you use a variable like an actor, you have still to use this cast to the specific, actor. Yes, let's say specific kind of actor, because they are all actors, but subclass, let's call it subclass, because they are all actors but they have a subclass, which means, for example, if you want a static mesh actor or BP light actor, you have still cast to this one and then you have assigned this object. The nice thing about is if you use a for each loop, then you just connect this array element as an object here. And yeah, there are a million ways of getting objects, not millions, but many ways of getting an object, but starters don't like it. I liked it not so much at start too. And we try to avoid this as much as possible. And one way was in this, and that's the topic of this video. We will not use a cast which needs an object. And how we can make this as a starter, how we can avoid it? Yes, there is something like a level blueprint, which means you can go here on top, you can go here on this symbol, then you go here and open level blueprint. And I have here some random stuff in it. I don't know, that was probably for test purposes. We can skip most of them, but I will not delete them right now because I don't know what this is. But important is with the level blueprint, it is also a kind of blueprint like any other blueprints, but this level blueprint is a little bit more special. And why it is so special? Because it is bound to this scene here. And the nice thing about this level blueprint is you can just assign this kind of actors here, which you have in your scene, directly in it here. What I mean with that is, let me show you that what I mean. I drag and drop out this window here in the scene here, or you can dock it of course here anywhere. Can I dock it here anywhere? Not right now, but it's normally possible. I don't want this one here. Anyway, let's see if I can. No, I can't. I can probably dock it anyhow, but I'm just not able to do it right now. So anyway, that's not important. Important is you have here your level blueprint. Right here I have opened my level blueprint, and important is you have here your level, and you say, okay, I want this lamp here like before. Let's say which lamp you want. I want this lamp here. And you see, after I clicked here, this lamp is selected here. And what you can do then is just drag and drop this level here from this outliner. I clicked on this one and clicked on it, still hold it and drag it into my level blueprint. And now you can see I have here this node, which is a representation exactly of that what I wanted. So the question is why I would do this. The reason is very simple. Now I have exactly the actor with what I want work. For example, with that one I want turn off the light, and here I can say just set visibility. For example, first I made the same mistake like before. First, this one is not the light. Careful, this is again the blueprint. We have still to go to the component, which means I have still go to light component, or this point light. What was it called? Let's jump into this light and watch what it is called. It is called point light. I have still go from this top layer to this layer here for the component point light. So let's find this point light here, which means I go here, drag out point light. Okay, and again I go down, 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 and here this is variable defaults and get point light. And now I can set visibility. That's nice. And now I have another problem. That was nice because here I don't need any cast, any object, nothing. The only thing what I need here now is how I activate this one here. So there are different ways. Most time you see examples like the input, press F key or something like that. Let's write F key, and then you have here one F keys, for example, and then you can connect this one here with this F key. I think I used already F key, but I hope it's this one here. And then you can compile and save, and now you can see this interaction here when I start, for example. And let's see, I press now F, and you see this whole thing disappeared. Interesting. That probably I have another setup here. Let's use another key. Perhaps I set F for already something. Let's test with B key. B key. Okay, we have here the keyboard. Again, I select X, and if you are wondering why I select X here, is because I can go now here on the details panel, select this layout here, this keyboard, and now after I select it, I can press any key and it will automatically select it. So you don't have, you see it switched to B now, it's a B, and that's a shortcut instead of searching it all time here in this drop down. Like I said, if you find just a key, let's make here B key again, you see that drops any keyboard. Just click it, go here, select it, type any keyboard, and it will select it automatically. So let's try this again. What I'm doing here is I press now, I go here, I press B, and now it's this light, because before I have added F to another thing as well. So, and you can see what is here the benefit, why many starters like this. Yes, like before I told you, they like to avoid this object, to find this object, because sometimes it's not easy to find object. And to demonstrate you this one as well here, that it is not easy, what I can do is, what if I want that you should still access this box here? How you make this one? And then it starts again to get a little bit complicated for starters, because like I showed you before, okay, let's use the same trick like before, right? The same trick like before would be, I go here to my scene, I have this box selected, I drag and drop it here. Yeah, I have it. Let's go back. And after I have it, my goal is now, like before, I want that my character walks in, and then let's say I want that any light which I select later should go off. Perhaps let's make the same light so I don't have to drag all time lights in. Or let's make it, why not, another light. That's why we make it. Let's select this time this light. I select it here first, it jumps here. I select it here in the outliner, I drag and drop it here. Now I have a reference to this one. And yeah, let's try to accomplish this this version. So how we make this one now? So here's the trigger box. Oops, not this one. here's the trigger box. And normally what we want to do here is, in this version, we created from the trigger box here. I'm in the trigger box here. And when I selected here the box here, the collision box, I was going down and then I selected on component begin overlap. It created me this box here, and then from this box I said I want only that you overlap here with the character, with my player character. In my case it's called the BP Infinity Warrior. So I want to do the same here, but we have now this reference here, how I make this. So let's see, there are different options probably, but let's write, for example, we can go to events, and oh, we have here different kind of events, but they looked a little bit strange, like, but let's say begin overlap to make it a little bit easier. And it says here something class or collision. And here, careful again, I make the same mistake like before probably. What I have to do is, again, I'm here on top. You have to go to this box here. So let's do this. First of all, box. Let's write box. Then we go down, 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 down again. When we go to the default variables here and get box. And now what we can do is, okay, now I want this from the box. I want now here the begin overlap on component begin overlap. Now I can write begin overlap, and it looks a little bit strange here, at least not the same as before. We have to go to collision because we want the collision here, and we have here other options here. It says assign on component begin overlap or bind event on component begin overlap. We can test both. So this is an, let's see, this would be bind event to component overlap. Let's see what happens with assign overlap. I write again here overlap box overlap component, something like. Okay, yeah, is overlapping actor or something like that. There we have interesting options here, but I will not go all. I go now to this assign on component begin overlap, and this one looks also interesting. Let's go for this one because the difference is bind and assign is they are the same, only that this one has already here this event for you created and connected. And now actually you can do the same thing like in the other way. Here you can assign now what happens if the character is overlapping here. For example, other actor, I have still cast to my character. Let's say Infinity Warrior, I cast it. So I want, if this box is overlapped by my character, I want again do what? Here's the light. The same thing like here on top. I have to go to my point light, and it's down, 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 down again here anywhere to get to component. And I have set the visibility in this case. Visibility here, the new visibility is not selected, which means AI set it turn off. The same meaning, and I have still a problem here. So what is the problem here? And I think you can see it. This one must be called, right? We have here a pin. I must still call this. And how we call this normally, there are different ways. One way is just begin. Oh, well, what is that all time here? Oh no, let's make this one. Okay, we have here interesting, create a reference. What is that here? Let me change. I don't know. Ah, yes, that is the other shortcut, which I can show you later as well. Yeah, later. After I finish this one, I'll show you something more, a shortcut, which is perhaps easier for beginners than dragging in all time the things. All right. but let's finish this one. So how I activate this one, for example, you can say begin overlap. No, not begin. Event begin play. Begin play. So this one you already know. I have here already a node here anywhere. Let's use this one here this time. So here my event begin play. I say, okay, if this one starts to play, event begin play, and the level starts to play actually when the game mode is loading this level, or this level is loaded. It's other way around. The level gets loaded and then the game mode is loaded after this. But important is when this level begins play, it will make here a connection, and this one looks a little bit strange, right? I mean, what we know is what we learned so far is, let's say we start the level, then this node is triggered, then after this triggered it goes in, and what happens now? And this one is still listening to this overlap, and this looks only strange. If you are used to it, it looks not strange. If you are not used to it, most beginners are not used to it, and this one looks a little bit strange because this one is the thing what most time is shown, because in blueprints and something like that we use all time this kind of stuff, this overlap event. It's all time shown in every places. But this one is not very shown because most don't understand what this kind of stuff is. In this case, I don't know, is this a delegate now? Yes, should be a delegate. Or let's say I call it just, it's a listener, right? It's just the same thing like here. It is waiting and it's reacting on yeah, it's waiting and listening that anyone is overlapping, and then it reacts with this event, something like that. I don't know if this is a real delegate here, because there is another option which you can make. But before we go on, what is important here? First of all, let's point this out a little bit. You don't need a casting in case here. We need all time here a casting in this other thing. Not all time, I mean, you see in special case when we cast to a special type, or when we, yes, when we cast to a special type, but we don't need a casting when we use the other approach, when we have already declared it instantly, and we don't need a casting when we have this get all actors of class, because you are more or less selecting it directly. Of course, if you are not using the other approach with actors, then you have still to cast it again to special. But what I want to point out is many use this one here because just beginners to avoid this object, and yes, it's cool, but then they encounter something like that which makes it again difficult, and then we have another problem. There is another problem. And what is the problem with this level blueprints? There is another problem with communication with other blueprints. I don't know if I know an example right now of my head. I don't think so. That's why we skipped this example and go on to that what I want to show, and which is I want to show you fast another way how you can just get an element. You see when I right click, and here we have some options. Add event, and it says for this one, and call function, and then we have this one, and here create a reference to BBB light. And what is that here on top? This one on top is actually what you have right now selected. So you don't have to do that what I did all time. You don't have to select and drag it and drop it in. That's one way. For example, let's select this time this cross. In this time, you see I selected the cross. Normally you can make this one. This is one way, but you can just select what you want, and then you don't have to undock this one here. You just say, I want, yes, let's make, that was the cross. Now I want this cross here, right? I want get this cross and I want destroy it. he select this one, it is selected, he goes here and right click on it, and that's why beginners like this one as well. You look what happens, exactly what you have selected here, it's automatically included in this option here, so you can just click it and you have access to it. Very fast, very, yes, very loved by beginners. And I must say, I don't like level blueprint in general. Not because it's bad, sorry. Because there are later some communication problems with which I don't like, or the reusability I don't like. For example, what I mean with reusability, this one here, what you are coding inside the level blueprint, yes, it's in level blueprint, and what you code inside a blueprint, it's in a blueprint. So okay, and what is the difference about that? The difference about that is if I want reuse this code, then I must more or less recreate all this kind of stuff, or at least let's say copy all this kind of stuff. But if I have all the logic, for example, in a blueprint, I just throw in the blueprint in a new level and it works. What I mean with that, let me demonstrate it. I mean, when I talk so much, many people don't understand it when they are started. That's why I make a demonstration. Let's make here faster new level. Here's a basic level I created just for jump purposes. And now you see when I go here and want the logic in level blueprint, yeah, I have to copy paste it here and then make it work anyhow. But if I have something like a blueprint, I just drop it here and it works. I mean, if it's set up correctly, you see, I just drop it. And this level, this blueprint here, all this logic, what I have, in this case, I have no logic. That's interesting. Let's drop the other one here. Yeah, I have more logic. This will work right now. I can watch this one here. You see, all the logic is here. I applied it instantly to a new level. It is, yeah, that's why many programmers like more this blueprint version instead of this level version, because you can all time reuse it. This level blueprint, you can reuse it too, but what you have to do is, let me show why it's not so level. Let's go and open up my other level again. Perhaps I don't show it because that's just I say it at least. So here was my gameplay. Don't save, we don't need that here. And in this case, what you have to, if you want to reuse this, you would open up this level now. You would go to your code, you would just copy this one here, Control C. Then you would go back to your other level and paste it there. You know, it's a lot of work, and sometimes you don't know if you have now this BP light here and BP point light here. You know, here you have the references. And with this blueprint, what I have here, for example, what was that? Here, and here with my blueprint, for example, I have here perhaps references too, but not necessarily. I can set them later. I can check them if I have them and so on. So I think that's the main reason why many programmers don't like level blueprints. Not because level blueprints are bad. I don't think level blueprints are bad. In fact, I think level blueprints are very convenient in some situations because you just open it or make a fast prototype and say this code is not so important for reuse. Then you can just throw in something, test something without thinking too much, right? You say, okay, I want to test fast this one. You go level blueprint, right click, here is the reference, just drag out, connect, test, finished. That was some seconds, and you are finished in some seconds without doing much. So you see, for prototyping and purposes, nice. In general, it's nice. For reusability, it's not nice. And yeah, so let's see why I talked about level blueprints, because there is one more thing. There's one more thing, because I don't remember now what, but it is said that we need in level blueprints a dispatcher, and I want not talk in this video about dispatchers now, but we need to know about dispatchers in general, because when I talk about interfaces, and dispatcher is an alternative for this interfaces, and when I talk about interfaces, we will talk, of course, about this actor of class and this alternative ways and this level blueprint. And I have to introduce dispatchers as well. Interesting is that what you see here, that looks almost like a dispatcher. Almost, we will do something similar like this one. But a dispatcher is special, more special. You have to set up it more properly. But yeah, I think I stopped this one here because dispatcher is normally used in level blueprints. There are certain things you should call, you can't call, and communicate and so on. I think with blueprints and so special, but I'm not sure what the example was, because I use not so often level blueprints. Anyway, that's not so important. Important is now, let's see if there is something more to know. I think not really. That's enough for level blueprint. I hope you know more than me about level blueprints. If not, no worry. For our understanding, that should be it. We will talk in the next video about dispatchers. And I think then we can start talking about interfaces with blueprints, and then we can make the final comparison and confusion talks and all this kind of stuff after this one. Right, with that said, I stop here. If you have any questions or any complaints like all time, write it in the comments. Of course, write tips and tricks also in the comments. Let's learn, right? There are many things to talk. And yeah, with that said, good luck, have fun, and don't give up. Bye.